The last video I talked about the void, this idea of blankness or emptiness as the essence of spirituality. And I talked about how spirituality actually fills a void that our culture leaves. And I ended that video by asking, okay, how and with what? Spirituality is the adventure of finding out. Spirituality invites us out of our little room and down the road. We all sense something is out there for us. But most people would rather stay in their room and watch someone else's adventure. The reasons for this vary. Many people don't believe in that inner sense of something calling to them. They may write off anything said to exist outside the physical world recognized by our current conventional science. Or they just write it off for themselves. So they imagine that special something really only exists for certain special people, but not for them. So whatever discomfort or frustration or lack of fulfillment we're experiencing is just how life is. Why expect anything different? And hiding in this outlook may be a sense that we personally only deserve a certain level of happiness. We may believe we are to some degree bad because of something we've done or think or feel. Or we may not even want to be spiritual at all if we imagine it's boring or involves things we don't like tofu or extended forced smiling. But probably the most common and powerful thing that stops people from leaving their room is just fear of the unknown. More often than not, it's probably a tangle of several ideas that prevents someone from exploring spirituality. These ideas are understandable. They're often widespread in our culture and embedded in our science, art, religion, and philosophy, in some cases for centuries. Spirituality respects a person's hesitations. It never calls with the words, "Act now because this offer won't last." Spirituality isn't a religion saving souls, an ideology recruiting converts, or a product requiring customers. Its essence isn't found in any group. Whatever image we form of what a spiritual person does or looks like is wrong. Loose linen may be comfortable, but there's no spiritual uniform. You don't get a dishonorable discharge for wearing a lot of makeup. Spirituality respects individuality. You could even say spirituality is individuality. To be spiritual is to be you. Western culture emphasizes individualism more than most other cultures. But ours is still a watered-down version. Call it individuality light. In the West, it's easy to get the impression that your individuality is great as long as it involves snowboarding. Be yourself almost always means be yourself up to a point. We celebrate diversity, but if your diversity goes too far or is the wrong kind, you can expect some mix of concern, judgment, ridicule, or corrective measures. Now, often the corrective measures are perfectly well-intentioned. Kids are allowed to learn in different ways in school, for example, but we tend to secretly believe they're defective if they're too far away from the average. If a student can't say, do basic math by 5th grade, adults may use all the appropriate language, but the idea still lurks that it's our culture's expectations that are correct, and the child who is flawed. By contrast, the Piraha people of the Amazon have lived for centuries with no concept of numbers whatsoever, and they wouldn't even notice such a flaw. They're also, by the way, reported to be both especially practical and especially happy people. In our culture, hearing voices or seeing visions is another indicator that something has gone awry with your individuality. We aren't taught that in almost all cultures except the modern West, such phenomena were included in the spectrum of normal human experience, often marking a person as a gifted mediator with the spirit world. Spirituality doesn't present any image of what you should look like. Its individuality isn't watered down. It isn't afraid of skipping the bungee jumping and watching ants crawl in the dirt for a few hours instead. Spiritual individuality is so radical, it includes conformity. Some individuals find their deepest fulfillment, at least for a time, in the service of a group or other people, as when a soldier gives his life for a comrade or a mother pours her love on a child. So spirituality is fine with a person's hesitation to practice it. It doesn't need to convince, convert, or recruit you. It is you already. The adventure of spirituality is already underway. Our hesitations are already part of the adventure. Whether we like it or not, we are each on the adventure of a lifetime. Spirituality just invites us to like it.